What is up, guys? John Papp here from johnpappfitness.com here at Acceleration Fitness, and I'm coming at you with episode 23 of 5 weekly tips to lose weight, gain strength, and get jacked. That's right, episode 23 already. So we're gonna get right into things. This week's gonna be kind of focused more towards strength building and getting jacked. Not a whole lot of weight loss stuff in here this week, just happened to be how it went. So number one is keeping tightness in your upper back while back squatting. So I always talk about, and you hear this probably all the time, the tighter you are, the better off you are going to be technique wise when it comes to the main lifts, when really any lift, but when it comes to squat, bench, deadlift, stuff like that. And the tighter you keep your upper back, the better off you will be. So one thing I do when I squat, or back squat I should say, is when you have your hands back there, you're pulling down with those elbows as hard as you can, squeeze and pulling that bar up against your traps as hard as you possibly can. Sometimes I'm pulling so hard that my arms are shaking, but when I do that, when I know I'm really keeping that upper back as tight as I can, I'm able to grind through the lifts a lot better. So if it's a grinder, it's a heavy percentage, it's a hard lift, and I start to hit that point where I might stall in some situations, the harder I pull down to the upper, or the tighter I keep that upper back, usually I'm able to stay in good position and not fall forward. That's what kind of happens to me, maybe not you, but it's a common problem, and I see a lot coaching as well, is kind of that falling forward, and then you're relying on that lower back a lot, and if your lower back isn't strong enough to handle that weight, or if it's fatigued from previous sets, then you might lose the lift, or at least, get through the lift but with very poor technique. So that's one thing I use, one kind of cue, is to pull those elbows down and keep that upper back as tight as I can, keep that bar resting up on the traps there. And that kind of goes right into number two, and that's learning to grind through the lifts. So this is one thing, for me, it's a constant process. I'm always learning when I lift, whether it's squat, bench, deadlift, overhead presses, or any accessory movement you may use. There's a certain way after time, or after you've done a lift for a long time with good technique, you kind of learn how to grind through lifts. You learn different cues. For example, that pulling down of the elbows, that really works for me to help me grind through a squat. And I was talking to some of my training partners, and they all said different things. They focus on different things when they start to stick in a lift, and it helps them grind through it. So you got to experiment. It just takes reps, repetition, and then also repetition with heavy weight. You have to put yourself in situations where you're going to grind for a lift to get better at grinding for a lift, if that makes sense. So learn how to grind through repetition. Now, number three is to program, if you do your own programming, program intelligently at the beginning of your training week to kind of set yourself up for success at the end of the training week. So for me, I start my training week on Sunday. That is my first lift of the week, a heavy lift. And then I go all the way up until Thursday or Friday, depending on what's going on. Most weeks I'm going up till Friday. But if you're doing your own programming, don't absolutely crush yourself on Monday or Tuesday, so then all your lifts the rest of the week suck, right? So for example, earlier this week on Sunday, yesterday, at the beginning of the training week, it was lower body day for me, squats and deadlifts, main lift was squats, then I did some deadlifts after, but I kind of kept that in mind and did concentric only deadlifts. So I dropped each one from the top, just kind of to avoid just wrecking my hamstring from the eccentric lowering of the weight to the ground, and to kind of set myself up for a super high volume day later this week. So I kind of kept that in mind to kind of slow down once I got past the main lift of the squat. It didn't hold back on that, but then once the accessories came, and the accessory in this case was deadlifts, just lighter, kind of tone things down, everything. It was still hard, but it's not gonna absolutely crush me for later in the week, so I can perform at the level I need to when I hit the super high volume day later this week. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, and that can be applied to really any lift at all, right? Stay away from things that are gonna absolutely crush you if you have a hard training day coming up very soon. So that is number three. Now, number four kind of goes with the upper back tightness, as I talked about getting tight, is bracing your abs and your glutes on many lifts. So really any lift you should be bracing your abs, push that rib cage down, push the diaphragm down, and your glutes as well in most of this. For example, if you're doing an overhead press, you need to be squeezing your glutes, pushing those ribs down. And pretty much any lift is going to be like that. The tighter your whole body is, the better off you will be. One, you'll be stronger. Two, you'll be in a good position that kind of helps prevent some freak injury from happening. So if you get into a good position and you stay in a good position, you're gonna be a lot better off just overall. And number 5 is not relying too much on the equipment that you lift in, whether that's a belt, knee wraps or sleeves, wrist wraps, elbows, whatever you happen to be using, but not relying on that too much, throughout your training. You want to vary your training. So, for example, one of my training partners, John Beltowski, he's been doing a lot of beltless work lately in front squats, and we've seen a tremendous increase in his core strength and overall strength just from doing a lot of beltless lifts. So he kind of had to take a step down with the weight, from using a belt all the time and switching to a lot more front squat work. But that has benefited him tremendously in all of his lifts for the most part, right? So the stronger your core is, the more tightness you'll be able to, produce, and the better positioning you'll be able to stay in. It'll keep you in good positions, right? The core strength will. So that is one thing that I think a lot of people kind of, stray away from, including myself. I rely on a belt pretty heavily, but I'm trying to get away myself from all belted work, doing a lot more beltless, deadlift squats and stuff like that. And I think that'll help a lot of you guys out if you kind of, vary what equipment you use. And that was number 5. So that is all I got for you this week, guys. Remember, check me out on the other social medias at John Pep Fitness on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat is J-Pap. Hit me up if you have any questions at all, guys. Other than that, hit subscribe, like, lets me know you guys are watching. I'm not just wasting my time. Other than that, have a great week, guys. Make sure you're chasing it. Boom, get out of here.